It may seem like you need to buy some expensive gear to make good videos, but in reality it's not the case. If you're just starting a YouTube channel or want to post quick videos on social media, all you really need is a smartphone, and not specifically an expensive one. I will show you the 5 best budget smartphones with a good camera for shooting photos and videos. Let's go! Hi, my name is Arthur and welcome to the Movavi vlog, and number 5 is the Oppo A53 that costs around $150. The 13 megapixel camera with f2.2 aperture and the 16 megapixel front-facing camera with f2.0 aperture. The rest are the 2 megapixel depth sensor and the 2 megapixel macro sensor. There's the AI tech built into it, AI beautification as they call it, and the flashlight of course. And here is my opinion based on the test footage that I saw on YouTube. The photos are looking really good for the camera at this price. A good amount of details in the image, it's not oversaturated unlike Samsung smartphones for example. The overall color temperature is drawn closer to colder shades. If we crop the image, we'll start noticing the areas where the picture is washed out and a little noisy, and this is in daylight. I like the dynamic range on this camera, and the ability to turn on the HDR mode is also very nice. But nothing too exciting, this mode just brings up the shadows a little. Now let's move to the close-up shots. I was expecting the autofocus to work better, but in reality it's not stable and you need to pay a decent amount of effort to catch the correct focus point. I was very surprised by its portrait mode. I expected to see worse results with this phone. Skin tones are very close to reality, face detection and edge detection also works well, and it's very surprising because even iPhones are not perfect at this. Low light filming is possible, but the scene needs to be evenly lit with light. The more shadows you have in the image, the more noise you're gonna get. I can quickly call this footage unusable. Even the f2.2 aperture doesn't help to fix this, and there is no night mode in this camera. A53 shoots video in 1080 resolution with up to 30 frames per second, and overall quality is average. It's not bad and you can shoot videos on YouTube with it, but don't expect much from this camera. Low bitrate, no optical stabilizer, which may be why some of you will decide not to buy this smartphone. Front-facing camera give you some nice photos, AI beautification kinda works only for some quick selfies, but really not more than that. I would not shoot a video on this camera, just something really quick for Instagram stories. So all that makes Oppo A53 a good beginner camera phone for those of you with a minimal budget. But if you have a bit more than that, take a look at this option. If a good smartphone for filming isn't the only thing you're looking for as a beginner on YouTube, I guess you might like the news I want to share with you. Right now a big sale is underway on the official Movavi website, and the cool thing about this sale is that you can find there not just some standalone apps by Movavi, but also many awesome software bundles at great discounts. For example, I recommend you check out Movavi Unlimited. This annual personal plan includes 11 Movavi programs for your creative work and 1-year unlimited access to the Movavi FX store. I'll leave the links you might need in the description so you can go check it out yourself. The Samsung Galaxy A50, which costs around $200, the main 25 megapixel camera, the ultra-wide 8 megapixel camera, the 5 megapixel depth camera and the 25 megapixel front-facing camera. If you want to make some sexy slow-mo videos, you can do it, but there are some limitations. 240 FPS available only in 720 and normal speed shooting up to 30 FPS in 1080. Yes, no 4K, just Full HD. There are 7 shooting modes: Panorama, Pro, which is not so exciting to be honest, you can control ISO, white balance and exposure, not too much for the Pro mode. I would suggest downloading some third-party apps for this. Live focus, or in other words portrait mode, where you can change the amount of blur in real time or later in the editing process. Then the photo mode, video mode, slow-mo and hyperlapse. There is no optical stabilization in this camera, and the autofocus in the video mode is very slow. They've also added this button to activate this fancy AI mode. It automatically color corrects your image, brightness, etc. I don't see this feature as very practical, but you should definitely play around with it. I really like this small feature when you make a top-down shot. A50 will help you balance the camera with the help of the dot in the middle of the screen. Overall performance of this camera, I would say good for its price. It's a little bit oversaturated that most Samsung cameras are guilty of. Portrait mode looks sketchy, the blur might jump around the subject occasionally, however I expected to see worse results. Low light shooting is where the image falls apart. I mean, it's not really bad, but I would not shoot my YouTube videos in low light with this camera. But when this scene is properly filled with light, the quality and the details really start to pop out. Wide-angle photos and videos are looking very good with a small amount of distortion. However, you start losing information with this mode. Close-up shots are looking better than wide shots, giving you this nice blur in the background. In summary, good lighting, good footage, but I would not recommend it for shooting any low-light scene. Good size, wide-angle camera, close-up shots, but the rest somewhere in the middle. Not very exciting, but definitely a decent starter camera. When you have already filmed everything and the video is ready to publish, you need to design the thumbnails and social media posts. You need to do this quickly because we YouTubers have a pretty intense schedule. For this, the online graphic editor Crello is perfect, making graphic design accessible to the widest range of users. You don't need to be a professional designer to use Crello. The interface is very intuitive, contains many templates and allows you to create images and short animated videos to publish on social media. Crello gives you access to the stock site deposit photos. It offers over 200 million media files such as images, footage and audio tracks. And all this is royalty free. Our promo code will provide you with a 30% discount on your subscription. You can also follow the link in the description to learn more about Crello and the subscription plans. Next up is the Honor 10X Lite, which sits at around the same price as Galaxy A50. 148 megapixel camera with f1.8 aperture and the wide-angle 8 megapixel camera with f2.4 aperture. And we get a 2 megapixel depth sensor and 2 megapixel macro sensor. Not surprised. I don't know who really needs this macro sensor unless you just want to play around with it. And it has a flashlight, of course. You can record 1080 videos with up to 30 frames per second and you can stabilize while recording. But in the process of filming, you can switch to wide angle, which is very nice. You get realistic colors and average dynamic range, not many details. To be honest, if they would change the main camera to the Google camera, that would have been a great camera phone. But comparing it with some other cameras in that price range, it's an average level camera. The AI mode works well, it's not that useless. Wide-angle shots look good when shooting a bright scene, but in low light the quality drops dramatically. Besides, autofocus does not work on the wide-angle lens, the same thing goes for the night mode. So in summary, I would say the Honor 10X Lite is a good camera phone that is definitely worth its money. The second is the Moto G9 Plus, which sits at around $250 US. Not cheap, but still can be considered as a budget camera phone. This is one of my favorite camera phones, primarily for its quad lens camera. The main 64 megapixel sensor is more than enough for shooting amazing photos for social media. Motorola also added this fancy AI Smart mode, but it's really handy. AI Smart will suggest to you which camera mode is helpful at any given time for you to make the best shot possible. The camera holds contrast really well, there are a lot of details in shadows and highlights, the result is solid, you get a well color balance, not oversaturated image, even the photos in motion are not blurry. The G9 holds up well. Portrait mode works fine, I didn't notice any noticeable issues, this mode should definitely be used. Indoor shots may seem a little washed out, but a night mode cuts away all the noise, bringing up contrast when it gets completely dark. They added the wide angle lens, but I don't like what we're getting out of this lens, a little blurry and noisy. And yes, Moto G9 Plus shoots video at 4K with clean audio, autofocus is pretty quick and stabilization works really well. There are many upsides to this smartphone's camera, and if you have that kind of budget, it would be a good choice for a solid start to your career as a content creator. Before we get to the first place, I want to share with you one very exciting camera. It's not a smartphone, but a device that attaches to your smartphone. This camera supports micro four thirds lenses and gives you a professional image quality, high dynamic range and incredible low light performance. To shoot with this camera, you need to pair it with your smartphone using the Olympus Air app. The app looks like many third-party apps for shooting videos on your smartphone, so you will find it very familiar. But the fact that you are able to connect your smartphone with the camera this way is just amazing. There's the guy Robin Wong that made a more in-depth review of this camera. I just wanted to let you know about this exciting camera. It costs around $300 US, that's why I decided to include this camera in today's list. However, it's very hard to buy it by the time I record this video. Still, it's definitely the future of smartphone photography and videography. Let's hope to see more cameras like this one in the future. Next up, Google Pixel 4a for $350 US. Almost in any Pixel smartphone you will get a solid camera with great optics. In Pixel 4a there is just one but an excellent 12.2 megapixel rear camera. You will get high contrast photos, natural colors, high dynamic range, a lot of details and surprisingly good low light capabilities. In terms of photo details, the Pixel 4a might win a battle with some of the more pricey smartphones. You get fast dual pixel autofocus and optical stabilization. However, in the A model you don't get the coprocessor for faster image processing. For example, if you make series of photos, it will take a while for the smartphone to process these images. But they've added some useful software features. You can switch from photo to video mode by holding the button, you can adjust highlights and shadows, and there is the super res zoom feature. The portrait mode is very impressive, giving some beautiful results even though there is no depth sensor. We have the front-facing 8 megapixel camera, 4K up to 30 FPS. And here is what I feel missing in this camera. There is no wide-angle lens and there is no optical zoom. But let's face it, it's a budget smartphone with a really good performing main camera. I appreciate that there are no kind of useful features that were added just for the sake of adding them, and will rarely use them in practice. I recommend this camera if you don't care about other AI features and this depth and macro sensors. It's not a very cheap smartphone, but might be a great option for some of you and it's worth every single dollar. If you want to learn more, check out an article on the top 10 best camera phones on the Movavi learning portal. Check out the link in the description and check out one of these videos if you want to learn more about the content creation process. Let me know in the comments which camera you are shooting with or what camera you plan to shoot with. Hit the like button if you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.